Hello YouTube, this is Samuel Fayard, and in this video I'm going to be going over the basics, well, some of the basics of using the level editor in the RC mod. So first you go into level editor, and as you can see there's an empty map. All there is a player spawn, and right now all I can do is look around. In order to fix that, there's a button. Now I'm not sure what the default is, but I'm pretty sure I left it the way it was. And for me, that button is X. When I push X, then the camera stops moving, and I have a mouse, which means I can click on things. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the controls and familiarize yourself with those. So you have these buttons for moving the camera. These buttons, which I have changed from their originals, is for moving objects. Toggle cursor is the X button. That's what I did to go from camera movement to mouse movement. Placing object is once you selected an object, you keep it where you've put it. Delete object, pretty obvious what it does. Slow movement means that you move things slower when you're doing the moving things around. These are also for moving of objects, as well as the camera. Then these are also for moving the objects, and this makes you move things faster. And speed also is for your camera as well, when you're in the camera movement mode. So in the script, you can view the script that you have. Right now there's nothing, and you can copy it to your clipboard. You can also do that from in here, and you can import data if you already have a map set up somewhere. And then apply is for the importing the data to set it up on the map. Make sure you read this warning here. Your current level will be lost if you quit or import data. Make sure to save the level to a text document. So in order to place an object, you go over to the right side over here. You have different little windows. You have the general, which has your spawn points for players and a general spawn point for titans. And you have supply, where you refuel, and you have two different types of cannons. They function exactly the same, but they look different. So, for story purposes and stuff. As far as geometry goes, these are just shapes, cubes, planes, spheres, cylinders. I'm sure you can read this. You have scale multipliers here. Those are for length, width, and height of the objects. You can change the materials and the how often the material, which is just basically a picture, repeats on the object. We'll go over those a little bit later. And you have your buildings. There are quite a few, some of which are very interesting. You have your trees, rocks, and caves and stuff, some grass. And spawners, these are specifically for the creatures listed. You can spawn Annie, wonderful. You can set it to endless spawn, which means that every 30 seconds, as it's defaulted here, it'll spawn another one of whatever it is it's supposed to spawn. And sorry about all the Skype messages. These are things like in Racing Akina. You have a start barrier, which you don't actually see in the actual Racing Akina, but it's sort of there, I guess. There are different shapes. Basically, it's just an invincible wall that will disappear after 20 seconds if you set your custom map to racing. And racing end, this will give you humanity win or end the race, depending on what your map settings are. And kill triggers, they're basically the same thing. This is what you have Racing Akina. You touch it, you die. Checkpoints, these are like little respawn things, where if you pass into it, then you respawn at that point if you die later. Miscellaneous, a barrier is just an invisible wall that has a very low coefficient of friction. And a region, I'm not really sure what regions are, I've never used them. And you can change their sizes like with other objects. So, let's say you want to get started with your map already, because it's been 5 minutes, and you want to put in a little gas thing next to where you spawn. By the way, the player spawn here, you cannot move it, you cannot select it, so yeah. So you take your object, you move it using your controls as shown here. So I'm going to move it over and put it down by the spawn. It's pretty far away. So I can use the control to make it go faster. And sorry about that little circle thing, I have it set so that whenever I push control, it tells me where my mouse is. Okay, so now we have that. Now let's say I want to building a tower. Here's a tower. And be aware that it will spawn in front of your camera, but not necessarily in the direction you're facing. Right now I'm looking a little bit down, but it's going to spawn directly in front of me at the same vertical height as the camera. So if you're looking down, you're not going to see it. If you're looking up, you might see it. Looking straight forward, it'll be there. And it will also spawn in the same direction that you're facing. So right now it's not really in line with the player spawn, so you can rotate it. Not all objects are set so that they rotate about their centers, so you have to be careful about that. Which means you're going to have to move things around a lot if you have to rotate. So now we have a nice tower. But let's say I want a bigger tower. If I want to make it wider, then I can change the width. That'll make it wider in this direction. Okay. So, put it down. As you can see, it is wider than the first one, which is all ones, but it has the same length. So that's from the camera off into the horizon is your length, and across your screen left to right is the width. And that's the same no matter what direction you're facing. So if I make it too long, then it'll go off and be longer from my camera off to the horizon. Then height is as usual. The height, length, and width have varied in things like math and stuff, so I felt that needed clarification. But if I want to make it twice as tall, then I can do so. As you can see, it's really tall, and it looks kind of weird. That happens when you scale things not completely in proportion. As you can see, I have only the same length and width with double the height, so it's going to be stretched and look odd. So now let's say I want my Titan to spawn in a specific place. Well, that's where you go into General, and you have your spawn point for Titans. And you can put that off somewhere, maybe not too close to spawn, so that you don't just die instantly. And let's say I want a specific type of Titan to spawn. And I'm going to go into spawners, and I'll spawn, say, Punk. Because everyone loves punks, right? So right now the spawn timer is set to 30, which means that in 30 seconds after the start of the round, a punk is going to spawn. If I set it to endless spawn, That means that every